Pay attention to this footage. This is surveillance video from inside Danvers High School in Massachusetts, October 22, 2013. Afternoon. The hallways are almost empty. The woman you see walking toward the second-floor bathroom is a 24-year-old math teacher. She just finished an after-school tutoring session. She's probably thinking about lesson plans. Maybe what she'll have for dinner. Normal things. The person following her is one of her students. He's 14 years old. He's wearing a hood. He's wearing gloves. And inside his backpack is a box cutter. She has no idea he's behind her. Her name is Colleen Ritzer. She will not leave that bathroom alive. This is Crime Vault 365. And this case genuinely disturbed me. The idea that a teacher stayed late to help a student and that student killed her inside a school in broad daylight, it makes you question everything about safety. If you're new here, we break down real cases in full detail. We don't rush and we always center the victim. Subscribe to Crime Vault 365 and tap the notification bell so you don't miss a case. Because this story is far from over. Let's start with who Colleen Ritzer was. Because she deserves more than being remembered for how she died. Colleen Ritzer knew she wanted to be a teacher from the time she was 3 years old. Not 5, not 10, 3. She came home from preschool and apparently that was it. Decision made. She never changed her mind. She grew up in Andover, Massachusetts, oldest of 3 kids. Her parents Tom and Peggy raised her alongside her younger brother Dan and her sister Laura. By every account, she was the kind of person who made other people feel good about themselves without even trying. She graduated magna cum laude from Assumption College in 2011 with a math degree and a focus on secondary education. She wanted to teach the subject most students dread and make them actually enjoy it. At Danvers High, Colleen was in her second year teaching algebra and geometry to 9th graders. She'd greet students with a smile and put up a picture of the day on her chalkboard. Cute animals, beaches, nature scenes, little things to make class feel warm. She counted down the days until summer vacation right alongside her kids. Her Twitter bio read, "Math teacher often too excited about the topics I'm teaching." And look, in a world where so many teachers are burned out and underpaid, Colleen Ritzer called Danvers High her dream job. She was even enrolled in a master's program at Salem State to become a school counselor. She wasn't just teaching, she was building a life around helping young people. 17 days before she was murdered, she posted this on Twitter. "Find something good in every day." That quote would become her legacy. But the thing about Colleen that connects directly to what happened on October 22nd is this: she routinely stayed late after school to help students who were struggling. She didn't clock out at the bell. She didn't say, "Come back tomorrow." She stayed. That commitment is what put her in the building that afternoon. Now we need to talk about the person who killed her. Philip Chisholm was 14 years old, a freshman at Danvers High. He just moved to Massachusetts from Clarksville, Tennessee a few months earlier, and the circumstances of that move are important. His parents were in the middle of a bitter divorce. His mother, Diana, relocated the kids to Danvers to escape what was described as a difficult marriage. Philip's father, Stacy, former military, stayed behind in Tennessee. In Clarksville, Philip had been a standout soccer player. His coach called him the nicest kid on the team and the main reason they won the league championship. Classmates described him as quiet, polite, well-adjusted, no criminal record, no discipline issues. But the move ripped all of that away. New town, new school, no friends, no father, no status. And witnesses would later testify that any mention of his life in Tennessee visibly upset him. His defense attorneys would later argue something darker was happening. They claimed Philip had been hearing voices since age 10, command hallucinations, that his mother's family had a history of severe psychosis. His grandmother had been hospitalized repeatedly. Now, I'm going to be straight with you on this. Whether Philip Chisholm was genuinely experiencing a psychotic break, or whether he was a calculating predator who planned what he did, that question became the central battle of the entire trial, and we'll get into it. But first, let's talk about what happened on the afternoon of October 22nd. Because the surveillance cameras inside Danvers High School captured nearly everything. That morning, Philip Chisholm arrived at school carrying bags. Inside those bags were items that prosecutors would later describe as evidence of a terrible purpose: a blue hooded sweatshirt, gloves, a mask, a box cutter, and multiple changes of clothing. Think about that for a second. He packed a kill kit. He was 14. The school day proceeded normally. But that afternoon, instead of going to soccer practice, Chisholm stayed behind for an extra help session in Colleen Ritzer's classroom, room A209. There was one other student present. According to that student's testimony, Colleen tried to make conversation with Philip. She asked him about his transition from Tennessee. She was doing what good teachers do, trying to build a connection. Philip became visibly upset. Colleen noticed immediately. She changed the subject. But it was too late. The student in the room observed Philip beginning to talk to himself. He appeared agitated. The other student eventually left. And then Colleen Ritzer walked to the second-floor girls' bathroom. Here's the moment. This is Colleen leaving her classroom and heading toward the restroom. It's just after school. The building is mostly empty. And here is Philip Chisholm. Watch. He pulls his hood over his head, he puts on gloves, and he walks directly toward the same bathroom. He enters about a minute after her. He's inside for approximately 11 minutes. What happened in that bathroom is confirmed by forensic evidence presented at trial. Philip Chisholm attacked Colleen Ritzer. He strangled her. He stabbed her at least 16 times in the neck with the box cutter. He raped her. Colleen fought, but Chisholm was bigger, and he had a weapon. She was 24. She weighed about 120 pounds. She didn't stand a chance. During the attack, another female student walked into that bathroom. She saw someone changing clothes and walked back out. She had no idea Colleen Ritzer was in one of the stalls. After the murder, the surveillance cameras kept recording. And what they captured next is some of the most disturbing footage I've ever had to describe on this channel. Chisholm exits the bathroom. He has changed his clothes. He walks down the hallway calmly, not running, not panicking, and retrieves a large green recycling barrel from the corridor. He wheels it back to the bathroom. He goes inside. He puts Colleen Ritzer's body inside the barrel, and then he wheels her out, through the hallways of her own school, past classrooms where she taught, past the lockers of students she helped, through a back exit and out toward the athletic fields. In one frame of the surveillance video, he's pulling the barrel past someone walking a dog. They have no idea what's inside. He takes the body into a wooded area behind the school, removes her from the barrel, leaves her there, partially covered in leaves. Near her body, investigators would later find a handwritten note. It read, "I hate you all." And then Philip Chisholm did something that prosecutors would point to again and again as proof that he knew exactly what he was doing. He changed his clothes. Again, this time into a Sesame Street t-shirt. He walked to a movie theater about 3 miles from the school. He bought a ticket for the movie Gravity. Using Colleen Ritzer's stolen credit card, he sat down in the theater, watched part of the film, left. Then he walked to a Wendy's and ordered a meal with her credit card. A 14-year-old boy had just murdered, raped, and disposed of his teacher's body, and his next move was a movie and a burger. That evening, 2 separate missing person calls came in to Danvers police. The first was from Diana Chisholm. Philip hadn't come home from school. She was worried. The second came from Peggy Ritzer, Colleen's mother. Colleen hadn't come home either. She wasn't answering her phone. Police initially treated them as unrelated, but when they converged on Danvers High School, that changed fast. Inside the building, officers found blood in the second-floor girls' bathroom. Not a stain, a flood. A cleaning supervisor named Vinicio Pimentel had already been there earlier that evening. He found the bathroom drenched in so much blood he'd later call it a slaughterhouse. He told the night custodian in broken English that he'd found blood. The custodian misheard. He heard blue, as in cleaning fluid, and told him to wash it down. Critical forensic evidence from the primary crime scene was destroyed that night. One of Colleen's earrings was later found inside the blood-soaked cleaning solution, but enough evidence remained. Police followed the trail to the woods behind the school. They found the recycling barrel, and nearby, They found Colleen. Meanwhile, investigators began reviewing the school's surveillance cameras. And here's what should make you angry. Danvers High had just undergone a $71 million renovation that included a security camera system. Dozens of cameras. Not a single person was assigned to monitor them. Every step of what Chisholm did was on video. The stalking, the disposal, the exit, all of it. But nobody was watching. Just after midnight, about 9 hours after the murder, a Topsfield police officer named Neil Hovey was responding to a dispatch about a male walking along Route 1. Route 1 is a busy highway, no sidewalks in most places. Not somewhere you'd expect a teenager at 12:30 in the morning. Hovey pulled over. He found Philip Chisholm walking calmly along the road. When the officer searched his backpack, he found Colleen Ritzer's driver's license, her credit cards, her underwear, and a box cutter covered in blood. Hovey asked Chisholm whose blood was on the blade. Chisholm's answer? The girl. When asked where she was, he said, buried in the woods. He was arrested on the spot. He was 14 years old. At the police station, Chisholm reportedly gave a detailed confession, including the phrase, "I became the teacher." But that confession was thrown out. The court ruled Chisholm and his mother hadn't been properly advised of their rights. The jury never heard the confession. They relied on the surveillance footage, the forensics, the backpack contents, and his words on the roadside. Now, before we get to the trial, there's something you need to know. Because what happened next proved to a lot of people that what Chisholm did to Colleen Ritzer wasn't a one-time psychotic break. In June 2014, while awaiting trial at a juvenile detention facility in Dorchester, Philip Chisholm attacked again. His target was a 29-year-old female clinician at the facility. The planning was methodical. He removed his sandals to move silently, crouched low to stay out of a staff member's sight line, followed the woman into a locker room bathroom, cornered her against a wall, choked her, and beat her in the face with his fists and a sharpened pencil. Staff heard her screams and rushed in to pull him off. Chisholm reportedly screamed, "I'm gonna kill them all." That clinician survived, but she was badly injured. At his later plea hearing, she gave a statement that still echoes, "His face still haunts me." That lack of emotion, just ready to kill. True monsters exist in this world. Philip Chisholm is a monster. He wasn't charged for this attack until years later. In April 2024, he pleaded guilty to attempted murder and received a concurrent sentence. Same pattern, a female victim, a bathroom, silence, ambush. That's not psychosis, that's predation. The trial began in fall 2015 in Essex Superior Court. He was now 16, tried as an adult, charges, first-degree murder, aggravated rape, and armed robbery. His defense attorney Denise Regan stood up and did something unusual. She admitted it. She told the jury that yes, Philip Chisholm killed Colleen Ritzer. That was not in dispute, but she argued he was not guilty by reason of insanity. The defense's position was that Chisholm was suffering from a psychotic disorder, that he'd been hearing command hallucinations since the age of 10, that his maternal family had a documented history of psychosis, that on October 22nd, he wasn't Philip Chisholm. He was lost inside a delusion, believing he was a non-human character from a Japanese manga. Regan told the jury, he didn't choose to do this. What other than overpowering mental illness could cause Philip Chisholm to do these acts? The prosecution had a different answer. Prosecutor Kate McDougall saw calculation, not chaos. She pointed to the box cutter he packed that morning, the gloves, the hood, the mask, the extra clothing. She pointed to the fact that he cleaned the scene, changed clothes multiple times, wheeled a body through his school, and used a stolen credit card to buy a movie ticket and a meal. McDougall's rebuttal was direct. Philip Chisholm isn't mentally ill. Doing something so awful does not make you crazy. The trial also featured a battle over brain scans. The defense wanted to show the jury MRI images of Chisholm's brain that they claimed showed abnormalities consistent with schizophrenia. Judge David Lowy excluded that evidence. He ruled the science wasn't reliable enough to diagnose criminal behavior in a teenager, and that the risk of confusing the jury outweighed any value it had. I think the judge was right on that one. Brain scans can show a lot of things. But they can't tell you what someone was thinking when they packed a box cutter in their bag at 7 in the morning. On December 15, 2015, the jury returned its verdict. Guilty of first-degree murder on both theories of deliberate premeditation and extreme atrocity and cruelty. Guilty of aggravated rape, guilty of armed robbery. He was acquitted of a second rape charge related to events in the woods due to insufficient evidence. But the core conviction stood. The jury looked at the surveillance footage, the planning, the cleanup, and the behavior afterward, and they saw what prosecutors wanted them to see: a person who knew what he was doing. February 26, 2016, sentencing day. The courtroom was packed. Colleen's family and friends filled the gallery. Many of them were wearing pink, Colleen's favorite color. 9 people delivered victim impact statements. What they said that day will stay with me. Tom Ritzer, Colleen's father. He stood in front of the court and said something no parent should ever have to say. He told the judge that during the search for his daughter, he had driven past her body in the woods and didn't know it. He had gone to the school looking for her. He walked the same hallways the surveillance footage showed. He drove right past the tree line where she was lying. He said, "I didn't protect Colleen. A dad's job is to fix things. I would do anything to fix this for Colleen." And then he said, "I hate Colleen's killer and will never forgive him. He is evil, pure evil." Peggy Ritzer, Colleen's mother, spoke for 32 minutes. She called Chisholm pure evil and said evil can never be rehabilitated. She asked for the maximum sentence. She told the judge, "At every parole hearing, our voice, Colleen's voice, will be heard." Dan, Colleen's younger brother, was direct. He called Chisholm an animal and said the hole in their family would never be filled. And then it was the judge's turn. Let me explain what that means. Under Massachusetts law, because Chisholm was a juvenile, the maximum sentence for murder was life with the possibility of parole after 25 years. The judge couldn't go beyond that on the murder charge alone. But Judge Lowy did something deliberate. He stacked the rape conviction at 40 years, longer than the murder's parole date, effectively ensuring that Chisholm would not be eligible for any parole hearing until approximately 2053. He'll be 54 years old. Judge Lowy said something that day that I think sums this case up better than anything else. He called Colleen Ritzer's life a life of quiet heroism. And he said, even if the defendant were to live a perfect life from this moment on, his repeated stab wounds to Colleen Ritzer's young body will remain indelible until the last person who knew Colleen Ritzer takes his or her last breath. The Ritzer family walked out of that courtroom and called the sentence unacceptable. Not because 40 years is nothing, but because for them, no number of years will ever equal what was taken. I understand that. Chisholm appealed. 11 separate arguments. Brain scans should have been allowed. Sentence was too harsh for a juvenile. Trial was unfair. In February 2025, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court shut all of it down. Every claim, unanimous, all convictions upheld. The court wrote that a 40-year sentence for these crimes does not shock the conscience. The Ritzer family released a statement. This ruling allows us to finally grieve without the uncertainty of an appeal looming over Colleen's family and friends. Philip Chisholm is currently 26 years old. He's incarcerated at Sousa Baranowski Correctional Center, Massachusetts' only maximum security prison. He will not see a parole board until 2053 at the earliest. Here's what I want you to take away from this story. Danvers High's security cameras recorded a murder and nobody was watching. The janitors washed away evidence because of a miscommunication. A 14-year-old packed a kill kit and nobody checked. The Ritzer family sued the school's architecture firm and reached a settlement. The case forced schools across Massachusetts to rethink after-school building security and whether surveillance systems are actually monitored or just collecting footage no one sees until it's too late. But the legacy of this case isn't about security systems. It's about Colleen. Every year on October 22nd, the anniversary of her murder, the community observes Kindness for Colleen Day. People wear pink. They perform random acts of kindness. They use the hashtag #KindnessForColleen. It started with Colleen's best friend Jennifer and spread across the country. The Colleen Ritzer Memorial Fund has raised over $600,000. It provides scholarships to graduating seniors from Andover and Danvers who want to become teachers. People who want to do exactly what Colleen did. Every May, more than 3,000 people show up in Andover for the Step Up for Colleen 5K run. Her father, Tom, grows pink daisies in her memory and sells them as a fundraiser. At the 2013 World Series, the Boston Red Sox held a moment of silence for Colleen before Game 1. A student at her funeral said, "I hope when I'm older, I can be half as nice as Miss Ritzer." Philip Chisholm sits in a concrete cell and won't breathe free air until his 50s, if ever. Meanwhile, Colleen Ritzer's name is attached to scholarships, kindness campaigns, and thousands of people who run a 5K every spring in her honor. She wanted to be a teacher since she was 3 years old. She became one. She was taken from the world at 24. And somehow, even after everything that happened in that bathroom, her legacy isn't about the violence. It's about the quote she posted 17 days before she died. Find something good in every day. This has been Crime Vault 365. If this case affected you, share it. Not for the algorithm, for Colleen. The more people who know her name for the right reasons, the better. I'll see you in the next one.